What's great about fantasy stories is seeing a hero faced with a radical choice to make. They have to act in life or death situations. Harry must sacrifice himself to defeat Voldemort, Bilbo has to live his comfortable life to defeat the dragon, Katniss has to volunteer as tribute to the Hunger Games to save her sister, etc., etc. While these trials are horrible, they're also kind of simple. A good hero will make the right decision, even if it pains them, because it is so obviously the right thing to do. The choice is so extreme that every nuance of grey fades into irrelevance. You are either in the evil camp or on the good side. Emergencies make for simple narratives. But I, like you, live in the everyday, in the normal. Very rarely do I find myself in truly extraordinary situations. All around me are shades of grey. There are no mustache-twirling evil guys that lay out their evil plans for me. Typically, on a day-to-day basis, I drink some coffee, I work at my desk, I take a little walk, I pet my cat, and I spend a lot of my time on my screens. And yet, the evil I face is there, and it's harder to defeat than a big fuck-off dragon that's spitting fire in my face because I like it. I can't say my enemy is only an enemy. The evil I face is distraction. I'm guessing you can relate. I consume a lot of content. I have YouTube on in the background most of the time. I have to fill even the restful silence of a shower. I watch or listen to or am accompanied by noise a lot. And I think it's keeping me lulled. This constant companionship makes it hard for me to form my own thoughts. But worst of all, it keeps me occupied so that I never feel I have the time or the mental space to work on the things I want to work on because, well, I'm already busy. Consuming, not creating. In the back of my head, I know that this isn't enough for me. I know that I'm letting time slip through my fingers and it's already May and I don't have very much to show for it. I've just read Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. If you haven't read it, you've probably heard of it. It's this dystopian story written in the early 20th century, where society is built upon pleasure as a means of social control. The book is honestly outstanding, not least because so many parts of it feel uber familiar to the culture of distraction we live in today. In the story, whenever the characters see or experience something ever so slightly unpleasant, something that might trigger some thoughts in their little brains, they soothe themselves into peaceful, drug-induced slumber. And they call it going on holiday. Well, that's what I do with content. If I feel an inkling of boredom, or I see something depressing on Instagram, or I have a difficult task ahead of me that I need to break down and figure out, I open YouTube, just for a bit. Content is my pacifier. So, how do I defeat this great, sneaky, everyday kind of evil? Content itself isn't really the problem. The problem is this need to escape less than pleasant feelings the second they arise. And to be honest, I don't think I could ever get rid of that drive. It makes a lot of sense, but there are ways not to succumb to it all the time. This is the part where I'm supposed to tell you to start meditating. And yes, in an ideal world, meditation is pretty much the opposite of mindless consumption. But realistically, it's very hard to sit down and allow yourself to be still, especially when your brain is always on. And I know that it's too ambitious for me, personally, to somehow go from the mental busyness of consumption straight to a chill state of quiet perception without any step in between. So here is what I try to do instead. I keep my mind busy, but active. The problem with consuming content or whatever else is that it's passive. But if I get engrossed in some task, I get into a flow state, then that kind of solves the issue. All of a sudden, I'm focused, I'm able to solve problems, I can think creatively. Basically, I believe that making art is the cure to mindless consumption. Not consuming art, although I love that too, but the act of making art yourself. Art requires you to be present. There is no clear roadmap on how to make art. even when you're following instructions or you're replicating something that already exists, it's likely that putting those instructions into practice still requires a lot of attention and a lot of self-guidance. You're having to ask yourself, what if I did this? Why did this turn out differently than I thought? How can I fix it? Or how far can I take this idea? And 100 more technical questions on details, on shape, on shading, on ingredient ratios, etc. Now, there's a lot of space in between your questions and the artwork you're focused on. And in that space, don't get me wrong, there can be frustration. For instance, if you see me soldering a stained glass piece, you can bet I've slapped a voiceover on top of the footage because in real time, I'm swearing like a sailor. Trying to figure out why I have such a hard time doing it properly. So yeah, space can be shitty, but it's a productive kind of frustration. It's the kind where you have to come up with answers, to sit in the unknowing, to be present, and kind of work it out. Creativity isn't always fun, but when it's there, time slows down a bit. Your brain gets unclogged. It isn't quite so hard to think up solutions and ideas anymore. And for me, I feel like my personality returns. I feel proud of myself. I feel like myself. And how else can we have novel ideas and the drive to effect change and make a better world without a pacifier, without constant distraction? Our brains put things together, recognize patterns, and stop taking things for granted. We're able to reach our own conclusions, to make up our own minds by letting things simmer in our brains long enough to get somewhere. And let me be clear, I'm not anti-technology, I'm not anti-social media. I freaking love technology. But when overconsumption replaces your own thoughts with noise and opinions that were formed for you, the question is yourself still your own? So this is my thesis. The cure to the distraction dystopia is to make art. To make stuff, even. You don't have to call it art. You don't have to call it good. It only has to matter to you while you're working on it. And as long as you unclog your brain every now and then and you create something, well, you might not be defeating a dragon, but you will lead a richer life. One where the time you spend outside of work isn't all about distraction and chores. Instead, you can carve out space for productive daydreaming, for creativity, for problem solving. I know I'm presenting this as a blue pill versus red pill thing. Do you want to be an artist, or would you rather be a slave to the entertainment industry? No, obviously things are never this black and white. I just hope that my thoughts on the subject can bring you a little bit of inspiration to notice when you're defaulting to a slightly entertained state of mind. What could you be doing to feel more in charge of your time, of your energy? Where could you add a spark of fantasy? I really want to hear your thoughts on all this, and in the meantime, you can watch this video on art as alchemy. It's a little bit of a video essay, a short one. Or this one, all about things I wish I'd known about art as a beginner little baby artist. Thank you so much for being here. See y'all soon. Bye!